Welcome to another episode of Lightbulb Moments. We will get to our guests shortly, but first I wanted to welcome everyone and thanks to all of you for spending your precious attention and time with us today on Lightbulb Moments. I do want to give a shout out to a couple of our sponsors, which includes Lightheart Sanders, as well as Zenoti. Speaking of Zenoti, our guest today will be the CEO of Zenoti, which we'll get to in a moment. So thanks for joining us. We are moving into the end of April. And whether you're joining us live, listening to the recording, or watching us on YouTube, I want to stamp a date here because this is the time when data is starting to be released. Not only by partners such as Zenoti, but also Kuhn, and which we'll get to in a little bit. Before we get to that, though, I do want to talk about our 17% challenge. And we have over 50 companies participating in this National Growth Challenge, which is a 13-week or 90-day, whichever way you want to look at it, period, where we challenge licensed professionals to increase their growth by a minimum of 17% over their weekly normal average of sales. And so far, we have many great results coming in. We are through 3 weeks. And not everybody has updated their tracking mechanism, but we do have several companies and locations exhibiting well over 17% growth, and dozens and dozens and dozens of individuals that we'll give a quick shout out to that are taking this challenge as an opportunity to increase salon revenue and then also their paychecks. So we'll continue to give updates on the 17% challenge. We, again, have 3 weeks of reported data, and momentum is strong and only getting better. Before I get on to our guest, I also want to mention that we are just 2.5 weeks away from the Phil, our 5th annual Phil conference in Austin, Texas, and so glad that we'll be seeing so many of you there. If you still want to join us, that option exists. We'll have someone put in the chat what you need to do to register for the Phil. We have announced several of our speakers, but we have more speakers that are going to be announced in the upcoming days. So super excited about this. Starting on May 18th, a celebration of Lightbulb Moments, where we will honor all of our guests, including Sudheer, who's agreed to be part of this podcast. So 17% challenge, the Phil, a couple of things in progress and coming to keep you aware of. So let's see here. I just returned from a few days down in Arizona for a wedding, and then got up to Sedona for some outdoor excursions. It was amazing. Just got back last night, and I was super excited to get up this morning and have the opportunity to connect with all of you, including you, Sudheer, which is a great opportunity to bring you to the mic. Good morning, Sudheer. How are you?
Morning, doing good. Joining from Florida. I'm at some med spa event, so from a hotel room.
All right. So you're in the Eastern time zone today, not West. So
Yes.
well, listen, I always have you on as a guest, especially when you release your benchmark report. And you have released, and I think it's now public, the 2026 Beauty and Wellness Benchmark Report by Zenoti. So congratulations on release. This is your 4th year you've done this report, is that right?
Yes, 4th year, and it's on our website if anybody wants to download it. Yeah.
All right. Well, we can get to your background, but I think we all know that you're CEO of Zenoti. And if there's anything you want to share with our listeners, you're a repeat guest. I think this is maybe your 3rd time on here, so you're no stranger to Lightbulb Moments. But anything in particular you want to highlight about you, your role, your background, or can we jump in here?
I think we can jump in. I've just been, only thing I would add is last few months, I've been very heads down doing our product work, looking at AI and how that affects Zenoti. And it's been something which I've been immersed in for the last 4, 5 months. And so excited to be here to talk about, I mean, I'm spending more time now just going to conferences. I'll be at Phil as well and see you there.
We're thrilled to have you. And yeah, you were in India for 4 months, weren't you, working on product, huh?
Yes, yes.
Do you feel a little bit like you go into a cave when you dig deep into product like that, Sudhir?
Yeah, but I enjoy that window completely. So I'm immersed in it. Nothing to, but all day long it was like almost like a war room approach to focus on what changes in Zenoti and how fast kind of thing. So yeah, it was fun.
Awesome. Well, great. So let me see. I think I actually have the benchmark report. I might share it on the screen here. If not, no big deal. I was just going to see if I can give our audience a visual, but you know what? What's most important isn't necessarily the visual of the report, but I do have it. So why don't we show people what it looks like? And then I'm sure we can put in the chat how to get the actual report. So we're just going to do a quick screen share here. And what you'll see is the cover of the 2026 Beauty and Wellness Benchmark Report, which, as it says right on the cover, this is data, trends, and strategies for the year ahead. And it's a multi-page report. And I have read it like I do every year, probably more than most people, just because I'm fascinated with this stuff. But I think our listeners are too. So, a couple things about the benchmark report. So essentially, what you're doing is you're collecting data from your customers, and you put them into 8 different categories. It used to be 7. And of those categories, you have barbering, you have nails, you have med spa, you have a particular interest in what I want to focus on today is full service salons and salons, those 2 categories. So we're not going to go through all the categories. We're going to focus on this section of the report that deals with salons and spas. I'm sorry, full service salons, as well as salons. And we're leaving out med spa and the rest of that for now. Okay. Even though there's some great findings in all those categories, people should check it out.
Yes.
High level. What jumped out at you the most, Sudhir?
I think the top a couple of things I would say is one is this notion of of course the growth as an industry. It's not like anybody is hitting it out of the park. The average is not hitting it out of the park. It's like just 2% kind of growth, and so this is second year in a row that we have seen there isn't a meaningful growth across the board. I don't know how everybody else would. Some people, of course, may be doing well, and I've met some people who have been doing better kind of thing. That's one. And second is number of new guests walking into stores has kind of dropped relative from 24 to 25. So the footfall of new people into businesses has also come down, which just, shows maybe, I don't know how to read into it, economy or, maturity of the industry. I don't know.
So 2020, because so the report covers 2025.
Hmm.
So what you're saying is 2024 and 25 are similar from a growth
Yes.
standpoint, which is what our data is showing too. We're
Yes.
looking at it from P&Ls, you're looking at it from POS data. We're both
Yes.
coming to the same conclusion. Let's talk about new guests, and we might even call it a new guest crisis.
Hmm.
Because let me see here. So for the first time in Zenoti's report history, new guest acquisition declined across all 8 verticals or segments.
Yes.
It's the same everywhere. For full service salons, new guests fell 5% on a same store basis. Salons saw a 7% decline. It's no longer a problem isolated one segment, it's industry wide.
Yes.
Tell us more.
Yeah, and that is based on fully operational stores in the sense this is data which is from 24. They have to be fully operational well before 24 as well, like 6 months before that to be included in the cohort. And so it is pretty stark. I mean, and I think everywhere we are seeing this. And so I tell people it isn't, because many people can panic and say, I must be doing something wrong. I have fewer guests. And so they're like, okay, let me spend more money on marketing. Maybe that's what I'm getting wrong. But I think people should know that, A, it isn't just about you, it is where the industry is. If that is where the reality is, then you can't change that reality by force, by spending money and saying, you know what, I'm just going to get double the new guests. Not happening. It's not there. So they should balance their strategies with saying operationally, how do I improve? Like what you're talking about, your 17% growth strategy. It's like there are so many other ways you can grow. So focus on other areas. Don't put all your eggs in one basket and think, oh, we had shortfall in new guests, so must be something is wrong. Let's increase our marketing budgets. That is the advice I'm giving to most of our customers, saying, don't over-index in it just because you see that number to be too low.
Well, I found it interesting, like at the very end of the report, you talked about actionable insights, and there's a couple. One just goes back to the basics, and that's utilization, also known as productivity, as an actionable areas. And I think productivity, utilization, I'll use that term, is running about 50%. Is that right?
Yeah. Yes.
And you mentioned 17% challenge. That's where my head went too. I mean, there is so much that's actionable on a day-to-day basis. Would you agree with that?
Yeah, absolutely. And I think your 17% challenge probably makes it real and saying, okay, go do this. And, there's another data point which really stands out in our benchmark report, which I was going to come to, but is the cancellation rates. So cancellation rates hurt utilization because you think your books are looking great, but like 4 days before, and then a day before, suddenly there's a bunch of cancellations and your books are no longer looking great, right? So you thought you solved for it, but then your utilization drops because of that. And so one data point, we dug deeper into it, and it may be interesting or not, I don't know. For some businesses it has been interesting when I've shared this, which is the first time you rebook a customer, that is, they walked into your store and you encourage your staff saying, hey, you need to rebook, and you will give them an incentive for rebookings. And staff tends to say, okay, fine, I'm just going to rebook the guy because it's like, they'll get an SMS, yes, but, or the customer will be, look, get off my back. I just want to do this, agree to your rebooking ask. And then they don't show up. There's very high percentage of first time guests who are not showing up, basically. But the second time you rebook, that is, they did make it into your store the second time, and now you rebook, there's no problem. There's cancellations are very normal, like, nothing to write about. Whereas the first time rebook is causing last minute cancellations. So, people should watch that a little more closely, is what we took away. And then we said, yeah, things like using automated wait lists where somebody can put their name down may help. And we do see some improvement. But yeah, that was the data point wise. That's my contribution to seeing how do you improve your utilization.
Well, let's stay here a little bit longer because it says among salon businesses where 30% or more of bookings are rebooked, 72%, that's huge, of those first rebook appointments do not materialize into completed visits. And you call this calendar inflation. I've never heard that term before.
Yes. Yeah, because you suddenly feel like your calendars books are looking very good. I mean, your appointment book looks nice, and but last minute, but 72% is huge number, which shows that the industry has gotten into the zone of saying, hey, rebooking is the way to improve your business, which is true. I mean, you have to get customers to be used to rebook, and that helps. But the first rebook is the dangerous one because the customer hasn't yet committed. You haven't earned their trust yet. And so maybe you earned it like a 30% of the first time walk-in people, you earned it. But well, you rebooked all 100% of them. So they are going to not show up at the end of the day. So, I think maybe it'll help in Zenoti if we can put flags which shows, I don't know if we do that. I did bring this up with my team. I should check, saying, hey, here are all the appointments which are first time rebooks on your appointment book, so that they, know these 8 guests, I better watch out, kind of thing.
Well, I'm thinking through this here a little bit. So I've always believed, and as a salon owner myself, helped create programs on called 3 times a charm. And so the third visit is the key visit. So let me
Yeah.
just make sure I get this right. So a client comes in once and rebooks, you know, 3/4 chance they're not going to keep it.
Yes.
They rebook, they come in a second time and rebook. That really takes us to that third visit. Third visit is when I've always seen they cross this threshold and really start to become a client. Would you agree with that?
Yes, I agree. And I think even after the second visit, if they rebook after the second visit, I think the probability they're coming back is extremely high. The drop off is very low, you know.
So, how do you deal with that? I mean, you mentioned in the report things like confirmation workflows, deposits, cancellation policies. Interesting. Once a guest completes a second visit, cancellation risk drops to just 4%.
Yes.
Something striking me as weird about that 72% of no or don't materialize into completed visits.
I think it's because the industry has gotten very good at rebooking. You know, they just blindly rebook people. You know, you come in for
Mm,
your first visit, I'm going to rebook you. They're incentivized. There are dashboards and metrics that are monitoring them.
okay. I'm looking at staying on this here a little bit. No-show rates. All right, what do we find? Because no-show is something that you always, I appreciate this data. It really unpacks, instead of just saying growth is 2%, it really unpacks, the drivers is what we call them. So no-show rates dropped from 3 to 1%. Boy, that seems low. 3 or a 1% no-show rate, but that's what the data says, huh?
Yeah. No show is you didn't cancel. You just chose to not show up. That's all. You know, you didn't
Yeah.
cancel your appointment.
All right. So you have, let's see here. Now, as far as the different categories, for our listeners to understand, full service salons, the median revenue per location is 2.1 million.
Mhm.
And then the salon category, as distinguished between full service salons, is 600,000 median.
Mhm.
So I love that you have these broken down into those two categories. So let's see here. Let's look at online booking rate. Online booking rate, the median is, which is the average, is 28%. But the top performers, the ones that are in the 90th percentile, their online booking is, well, twice as much, 54%.
Yeah.
Any actionable insights about online booking? Because clearly the data shows that's a driver.
Yeah, I think that's also one is, of course, just promoting it and the usual stuff. Second is, I think some businesses don't offer things like color for online booking. You know, they think it's not something they're comfortable with doing, and some businesses will do it. So I think using the system for color as well, like in Zenoti, we do support. I mean, there are nuances around color, but I think we've kind of solved for some of those. Making sure everything is available to be booked online is one way to approach to increase that number, I think. And also the description sometimes, even sometimes when I book at a new place, I travel, so I'm looking at a salon and I'm trying to make an online booking, and I'm supposed to be the tech guy. And I get confused. What am I booking? Which color am I picking here? So I end up calling the store because I don't want to book the wrong appointment and show up, kind of thing, right? So making the effort to say, how do I make it easy for people, even first time guests, to, understand my menu, I think is important here.
Gotcha. All right. Now, you often talk about memberships,
Yes.
and memberships is a key driver. Why don't you speak to that a little bit as it relates to the salon categories?
Yeah. So I think that's the one area in salons in particular, they've been a little earlier, early stage in adopting memberships relative to other categories. So, the growth on membership revenue was year on year was 36%. That is only the membership piece. So obviously it's a smaller denominator, but it is still growing pretty well for those who have adopted memberships. But I think you have the number in front of you, I'm sure. The overall growth of a salon, those that have memberships and those that don't have memberships, had reasonable divergence. Like what is that? I don't know if you can see the number, but there I think it's 8% is the growth versus 2% for the overall industry. but salons with memberships grew by 8% or something like that, if I recollect.
Okay, gotcha. Let's talk average ticket for a moment. So you're showing for full service salons, average ticket's $114. For that other category of salons, it's $77.
Mm-hmm.
Interesting when in your conclusion, you caution a little bit about growth coming completely from average ticket and making sure client counts increasing at the same time. But clearly, a lot of the growth has come from average ticket in recent years, correct?
Yes, it has. Last 2 years, I think it's been that the average tickets have gone up, but the visits have actually gone down slightly, even last year, I think.
Yeah,
Not just new customer visit, over total visit count has gone down, which probably is attributed by new visit going down.
yeah. All right, staff utilization. I touched on this briefly, but I want to unpack this because this is actionable. How much of your providers' available hours are spent delivering services? For full service salons, the median, the average is 49%. We'll round to 50%.
Yeah.
And then the 90th percentile is 76%. So that's 50% higher. Wow, what a driver, huh? Just
Yeah.
back to the basics, right?
Yes, absolutely. So I think, yeah, this is an area where we are also trying to do stuff. So we just launched an AI scheduling algorithm so that people can schedule what they want, but the AI can help them to say, hey, if you're targeting a 70% utilization, here's my recommendations to change your schedule, reduce this shift, increase that shift, whatever. So it does that on a per employee basis based on looking at their books ahead and saying who should come in at what time and leave at what time, etc. So hopefully that will help them to look at the AIs and they can decide, okay, I'll accept these two changes, but I won't accept these two, whatever. But I suspect there are some low-hanging fruits in some places where people are not spending enough time looking at a utilization and employee schedules closely. Yeah.
Yeah. So let's get into AI for a moment here.
Yeah.
Your favorite subject here. And I know that's where you have been spending a lot of time and you're fascinated by it, like many of us are. And how could you not be fascinated with it as an opportunity, as a threat at the very same time? So let's talk about the opportunity and the threat a little bit. There are some comments there about AI. It really is the early days of AI, but the difference between the early adopter or the adopters versus the non-adopters. Do you want to talk about that for a moment?
Yeah, so that is very narrowly focused, by the way, that data point. We tried to keep it as narrow as possible so it actually makes sense. So we have a product which is called, like, we called it HyperConnect, and then we now call it AI Concierge. Basically, it is the ability to do concierge-like experience for your customers. When they call in, they feel like, oh, this business seems to know everything about me. Yesterday, I was on their website and I was trying to look for an appointment. I didn't find one. When I called the receptionist, she greets me with saying, oh, Tom, I noticed you were online. What were you looking for? And they're like, wait, how did you know that kind of stuff, right? So I think so. We have this product which kind of surfaces everything the moment you call a front desk, and there's a lot of AI embedded, and the AI also summarizes Tom as a profile and says, here's the nature of Tom or whatever, based on analyzing all your data for the front desk person who's taking your call. So some of this is hard to say, does it help or doesn't it help in terms of businesses, right? Because it does make the front desk very efficient and effective and all that. So we found that it's about, I think, those which were using this product at 5% growth versus those that were not, had the lower growth in the industry kind of thing, right? So the product's been around for more than a year, and there have been people who've adopted throughout the course of the year. So we just compared those businesses' growth versus others to keep it simple, only that being the variable parameter. But one could also claim, of course, that, well, maybe those stores were doing their job better. They were following Tom's 17% rule, and that's why they grew. But we just took the average of across all of them. Yeah.
You mentioned something where when you and I had a little bit of time to prep. We're talking about change management a little bit, and AI is It's the change management piece to it is huge. And then as part of that conversation, you mentioned that 30% of those that dial in hang up if AI answers.
Yeah. So we have this thing which is AI receptionist, which is now different, which is the AI is picking up the phone call. If nobody at
Yeah.
the store is available and nobody picks it up, then the AI picks it up. And yeah, the data shows 30%, the moment they see it's an AI, they hang up. Then we do have a text bot which will engage an AI agent, which will text them saying, "Hey, were you calling about your 4 o'clock appointment today?" And see how the text bot can AI can help them. And then 30% of the time, the AI is successful in the sense it actually resolves the incident and either books an appointment, reschedules or cancels, etc. And then other 30% it will kind of get all the information. Sometimes it's a call which is about some FAQ and just asking about parking, etc. Sometimes it can't solve it, then it will assign it as a task for the front desk, saying, "Hey, I took a call, they asked for these 4 things, I could not solve it because they wanted cut and color and they wanted with this guy and that guy, and I got confused and I didn't answer it properly. Can you please call them back?" kind of stuff.
I asked you kind of a random question recently, and that was, do you keep handwritten notes? I mean, do you
Yeah.
still
Yeah, I think in the meetings I still write handwritten notes, yes. But I think nowadays there are AI scribe tools and all that stuff. So I also have to switch to doing that. But yeah, I think I am still used to handwritten notes, especially on planes and when I'm traveling and that kind of stuff. I write them down. Yeah.
I think it's fascinating because there's so much data to suggest the connection between the hand and the brain, and I just worry that that's going to be a lost art
Yeah.
and people will lose that tactical connection. So I thought it was interesting, a CEO of a major tech company like that. I mean, I do the same thing. It keeps me centered with the idea and the thought process. So but I imagine, just like handwritten note cards, it'll be a thing of the past.
Yeah, I do think so. I mean, we just come from a different generation, so we still use those, but I'm sure my kids don't bother doing that. So,
Interesting you say that, because I've done some informal research on that, and I do notice that clearly I'm a baby boomer, and but I've many times asked in seminars and what have you, and I've seen that it does transcend age, but certainly I do think that um, um, handwritten notes is going to be more apt for someone maybe of a older generation, if we call it that. So,
yeah.
all right. So AI. So you spend 4 months in India and working on product. A lot of that AI. How is AI? I mean, give us some specific ways that AI is really going to help, for example, with profitability.
Yeah. So I think what's going to happen, like, see, we are looking at benchmark data and we as humans are trying to analyze the data. I'm a business owner. I think I'm a smart business owner. So I look at this data, I'll compare it with my metric and say, hey, we need to do better. I call up my staff and say, marketing person, you do this. Okay, operations person, do this. Uh, I think AI can do a better job than the owner can of running the business, knowing what to focus on, right? So what we have done in Zenoti is, it's been an obsession of mine right now. Bring all the data together and make it available to AI, like making it available to Claude, right? So the entire data in Zenoti is described in a manner that AI understands at the native level, right? So now, instead of reporting, instead of all that, you ask the AI the question. For example, you just asked a question which says, "Hey, I want to improve my profitability. I just was at a report and I believe I'm making only 5% margin. I should be making 10%. Tell me what are the 5 things I can do to improve my profitability," right? So let the AI answer the question, because it will go through your data. It will have all the benchmark data also with it. It will have everything with it. And it will tell you, I went through your numbers. Here's your problem. Here's 2 employees who seem to have very low utilization. If you can just improve their utilization numbers a bit, I think you will get your improvement you're looking for, right? So uh, I think that's what I keep telling people, that I think today's world, the AI has general knowledge also about the industry and the world at large, kind of thing. So it knows what are the right ways. So all I have to do as Zenoti is get all the information described to the AI and get out of the way, right? And the AI has even access to, like, if let's say you're using the phone call, you think of data as metrics and numbers, saying visits, benchmark, but even the phone call is data for the AI, right? What was the quality of the call? Did we turn away the guest? Did they call saying, I want a 5 o'clock appointment? And I'm like, hey, I don't have a 5 o'clock appointment. You want to pick three? I can give you one, right? So the AI picks up all this data and it is able to predict a lot of interesting stuff. I mean, not only analyze and do all that, but it can predict churn, saying, what, I think this customer high propensity to not come back, because of what I've seen about their behavior patterns. So I think it's very interesting times where I'm excited about. We're launching this thing called it's a thing called Business Advisor within Zenoti, and we'll also have it as an app for our CEOs. So because most of our CEOs and owners never log into Zenoti, right? So it's like, okay, I'll give you an app. Just talk to your app. It will tell you everything you want about your business. It's like you're talking to Claude, kind of thing.
Hmm. Hmm. Inventory. Inventory is a pain point for many.
Mm.
How do you see AI? And I want to stay away from Zenoti specific features, but more just in general. What
Yeah.
about inventory?
Inventory is also very much AI can handle, right? Because it knows your patterns, your data of how many people are coming, how much you use. So its ability to predict and how much product to order and all that stuff is very much an area where inventory, AI can help materially in that area, right? Creating suggesting the right levels to order and not getting inventories, money stuck in your product, etc. I think that's a low-hanging fruit for AI to solve. And these are all data problems, right? There's the other thing, which is Gen AI, which is different, Chat GPT and all that. Whatever we are talking about so far, whether it's employee, is all about data. Like, how do you leverage data with machine learning and all that to get more deeper insights? Yeah.
You mentioned to owners, let AI run your business. Then what does the owner do?
Yeah, I mean, it's like, yeah, you bring strategy to the table. In the sense, strategy is, what, we should combine this service, and I'm seeing this experience matters. What is the guest experience like? The flow, in the store, how is that going? There are fundamental, those are strategic things which require deeper human thought to go into experiential aspects or strategic decision making about launching new products and that kind of stuff, right? But purely based on data and analysis and improving operational improvements, I think AI will do a good job, and it will not only, like right now, I was saying, we can ask, you can talk to Claude, but soon Claude will wake you up every morning and say, hey, here are four things I need you to go take care of today before you start your day. Do these four, and then you can go have a coffee or your whatever you want to do, kind of stuff, right? The rest of the day is yours. Because I'm sure AI will do all those things very well, even fairly soon here.
Boy, that's scary. AI is my boss now.
Yeah.
You know,
I mean, I use it in Zenoti that way. We are creating dashboards for our employees, for our leadership, where they wake up and they get a list of saying, here are the things you need to go focus on. Last week, there were so many calls, and of these, three calls didn't go well. Your rep for that account, for that salon, did a poor job. They were asking for something. They couldn't explain the answer, and I'm sure they're very upset. You might want to call them up and clarify what the issue is. So rather than wade through thousands of calls that have happened at Zenoti in the previous week, the AI just tells my leadership, just go do these five things and you'll be okay this week.
hmm, you know, change management is something that is really going to be something big in the upcoming years, I think.
Yes.
Whether it's change management around AI adoption, but that's where I think the human element's so important. That's where we spend a lot of time with our clients. It's one thing to have a data point, and it's one thing to see a opportunity with the data point. It's another thing to actually take action and create change amongst the team. Um, and it leads me to something else that came in my radar last week. So most businesses are still owned by baby boomers today. And for many years, we've been speaking about a tsunami of small businesses that will transfer just due to generational reasons. And I read something last week that AI is accelerating business transitions because many business owners are freaked out by AI, scared by AI, and it's maybe accelerating their decision to sell their business or transfer to a key employee. What do you
Mhm.
think about that?
Yeah, and I think it's if the data is showing that, I wasn't aware, but it probably is accurate because I would say I would urge everybody who owns the business. It's a very simple question I ask. If you were to start your salon today, if a 25, 30-year-old kid had the money and were to start your exact business in whether it's in Minneapolis, whether it's in Chicago today, how would that business look? What would the departments be? How many people will be in the marketing department, in the front office, and everything? How would this kid set it up? Because he's an AI native kid. He only lives and breathes AI. He doesn't even care about anything, right? You have to ask that question every day. And every day there'll be a new answer saying, oh, okay, if I did that, I think I would change this department to operate slightly differently. And so as long as you keep asking that question, I think you will protect yourself. That's the thing. You have to ask yourself, if I started it all over again, truly AI native, what would that company look like?
Well, we're soon going to be releasing data from our most recent profitability study. And spoiler alert, profits are down. And so, one question would be for that 25-year-old kid, do you even want to go into this business?
Yes.
And
Agreed.
now I'm gonna give my reaction to that whole topic. I actually think I'm quite bullish actually on service businesses. Aaron sent me this chart of different industries and businesses that will be most disrupted by AI. And personal services was on the very low end. So could be a very good time for someone to be in the salon or spa business today.
Agreed, totally agreed. That this is one industry which won't be disrupted, but I think it can be supported by AI meaningfully. You have this connotation which you call non-service labor costs, and you differentiate high profitability salons from low profitability based on how much non-service labor costs the salon is incurring. And I think that's what AI can help with is reduce the non-service labor costs a little bit over time while continuing to help with utilization and other things as well. So I think when you do it on both ends of the spectrum, you should see salons get more profitable. Even if there isn't more footfall, more guests coming in, they'll just get more efficient businesses. And they are not threatened by AI. They're not shutting down anytime, or, this is the business which is going to thrive still. People like Zenoti have to worry that they say software is going to be written by AI. So I am using AI as much as I can and rethinking how would I put a software company together today with AI, right? So.
Mm, yeah. You know, the it maybe is a good segue into our next episode. Our next episode, I'm not even sure who our guest is. It'll be in 2 weeks, but that is when we will begin to release findings from the profit study. So you and I live in different universes. You're living in the universe of pulling data from a POS system and all the magic that you can do from that and the analysis and the data and the trends and all of that. The lane that we're in is profitability and looking at actual P&Ls. And boy, it's fascinating to have another year under our belt. So, listeners, spoiler alert, you're going to want to tune into that episode. First, we will get with participants to give them the update. And I do want to make sure that I shout out Zenoti. You guys have really been very supportive in our data efforts, and we appreciate that. Whether it's compensation data or whether it's profitability data, you've been great partners with that. So thank you. It's really fun to connect with you on all these subjects, Sudheer. So, all right, I'm looking at the clock here. So, Sudheer, biggest light bulb moment you've had in recent months? Could be professional, it could be personal, it could be each. Biggest
Yeah.
light bulb moments.
Yeah, biggest moment is just that if you can give AI access to all your data, magic can happen because it can analyze your business, whether it's Zenoti or your salon. It can rip through it and come up with amazing ideas. That's what I'm realizing.
All right. Sounds good. Is there anything on a personal note here of interest to you, or are you so head
Ah,
down in your business these days that
yeah. So they say AI may free you up more or, etc. I personally am finding AI is making me and my organization even more razor focused because it's people get excited about when AI can do stuff. They get more engaged. They're got more excited. Oh, wow, this is telling me this. Okay, I should go. So it's driving intensity of business a lot. And I'm sure even in salons, if they start using AI, it'll increase the intensity, not reduce the intensity for the first 1 year, I suspect.
excellent? All right, perfect. Well, I'm looking at our attendees today. We've got several great people joining us live, which is awesome. I'm a little hesitant to call people's names out, but thanks for joining us today. Sudheer, I think this is going to be your third $1 million light bulb, maybe. If we could give Sudheer a virtual shout out here, a round of applause, that'd be great. Send him a little note and watch for this, and you'll have another $1 million light bulb coming. And we will see you at the Phil, which we appreciate, Sudheer.
Yeah, I'll see you. Thanks.
All right. All the best, everybody. Thanks for joining us today. We'll see you in a couple weeks and hope to see most, if not all of you, at the Phil. Bye now.